There are three schools of thought regarding games as art. 1. Games are not art, and no matter what, they never will be. 2. Games can be art, but they're not there just yet. With a little bit more direction, games can become art. 3. Games are art, always have been, and always will be. I'm not gonna weigh my thoughts on this because I have no fucking clue, but I will say that no matter where the truth may lie, I don't give a damn as long as games remain fun to play. I think that's the basic philosophy behind Serious Sam, the First Encounter HD, from here on forth referred to as Serious Sam. I'm sure if you were to pose a question to croteam, the developers of Serious Sam, are games art? They'd say, "What the fuck are you talking about? How the hell should we know?" Yeah, I can only do Indian accents, but imagine that was a really thick Croatian accent and you get the idea. I don't care if you're playing Silent Hill 2 or The Path or whatever else is deemed a serious artsy-fartsy game, or if you're playing Barbie as the island princess. If you're not having fun, the game is a major fail. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that a game that isn't fun isn't a game at all. It's a torture device meant to deprive you of your time that you could be using to, say, train for the BME Pain Olympics, which I think would be a lot more pleasurable than playing some of these so-called games that have forgotten that the primary requisite for games to be considered good is for them to be fun to play. Serious Sam is all about fun. If you're not having fun playing the game, you may be missing the fun gene. If you're not whooping and yahooing and twirling an imaginary lasso while yelling out "Yeehaw!", there's a strong likelihood that you're dead. But if you've ignored your girlfriend's beckoning for more rambunctious anal sex because you've been too engrossed with the game, then give yourself a high five because you have, by your action, in that singular moment, encapsulated the meaning of life and the spirit in which the game is designed. That or your girlfriend has two asses, one on her rear and the other on her face. I'm guessing that most game developers ask the following question when designing levels. How do we make this level challenging to the player? I bet that croteam asked this question instead. How do we kill the player? Because none of the monsters that you encounter have any sense of self-preservation. They just don't care if they live or die. All they want for Christmas is to damage you just a little bit. Some may say that the game has horrible AI, and I wouldn't disagree. Now granted, this is a gusted up version of a 2001 game, and AI just wasn't all that advanced back then, though there are some notable exceptions like No One Lives Forever. But that doesn't change the fact that this game features top-notch artificial stupidity. All 12 or so monster types do one of three things: charge at you, shoot something at you and then charge at you, or shoot something at you. That certainly means the game is ripe for mocking and derision, but somehow this is very appropriate for Serious Sam. This kind of artificial stupidity could even be justified, since these are just mindless monsters under the control of Mental. Yes, that's the name of an arch-enemy. Mental. They're just there merely to do Mental's bidding, and all Mental cares about is putting on a hurt clinic. So there's that. But more importantly, this type of game design accomplishes something. It makes the game challenging as fuck. It doesn't matter that 500 monsters charge at you and you're able to knock down 499 of them. If that one somehow gets through and causes you 20 damage, Mental is happy. If enough get through and you die, Mental is delirious. And that's a whole design philosophy in Serious Sam. All the monsters are designed in such a way, and in the way they work together, and by work together I mostly mean the angle in which all of them rush at you, as to cause you as much damage as possible. Allow me to explain. The monsters that charge at you do so with fearless, reckless abandon. All they want to do is get close enough to do damage. I mean, how else do you explain this monster? He has fucking cannonballs for hands. And those that shoot at you don't shoot in a manner that most monsters with a sense of self-preservation would. Cause if you care to survive a battle, you'd shoot to kill. Shooting directly at you would give them the best chance of killing you and hence surviving the encounter, but that also would increase the likelihood of you dodging their shots. But if all you care to do is cause someone a bit of damage, the best way to accomplish this is by spraying your shots so that dodging the incoming barrage is difficult. And that's exactly what the monsters in Serious Sam do. They spray their shots. Plus, they don't take cover. They don't care if they die. They just want to get off the best shots and hope that you take some damage. And the most effective way of doing that is to square off and shoot till you die. Granted, as mentioned earlier, all I said could be attributed to artificial stupidity, but I don't think that's the case with Serious Sam, mainly because the game throws at you, no, not 1, not 5, not even 20, but a gabazillion enemies at once. Now, what do you get when you have a gabazillion enemies, none of which have a sense of self-preservation, and all of which work together to make it possible for 1 or 2 of them to break through and subsequently cause you some damage? A fucking challenge is what. And I have no doubts that this game will kick your ass in normal difficulty, especially at the later levels. I know I got my ass handed to me many times. The game comes at you from all sides and sticks it in whatever holes are rather open and fucks you hard. And it's not the horrifically painful kind of getting fucked. You're not going to be pulling your hair out and punching your mom when she asks you, "What's wrong, dear?" Yes, it's still pretty painful, but it's that pleasurable anal fissure kind of pain that you experience when your lump of shit is just a bit bigger than usual. You'll frantically strafe and circle strafe, barely dodging the gabazillions charging at you, and you'll yell at your monitor plenty and even break a few keyboards in frustration. But on those moments you're in a groove, the game will make you feel like quite the matador and artfully taking them all down one by one. And it's for those moments that you play the game, and it's for them that you keep coming back again and again. One of the most beautiful things about the game is that you often hear the monsters before you see them. And it's not cheap, can't see in front of you because it's too dark or too misty bullshit. In fact, most fights occur in wide open spaces. And by wide open, I mean more wide and more open than Paris Hilton's vagina. Ever see Lawrence of Arabia? There's a scene in the movie in which T. Lawrence is looking into the far distance of a desert waiting for someone. The shot remains overlooking the empty vastness of the desert for a good minute, and then you see a tiny dot emerge. That dot gradually but surely grows bigger until you're able to make out a man on a camel. It's a wonderfully patient and dramatic scene, showing off just how vast and barren the desert is, and though it doesn't quite compare this to this feel, the monsters in Serious Sam do oftentimes appear from a great distance. Now, for most games, designing a game in which monsters appear from a great distance would be a mistake, because the game would be just a Space Invader type mess where you shoot monsters that come at you slowly but surely, and basically that's it. But it works fabulously in Serious Sam, and it's mainly because you're defending yourself against a gazillion monsters. Even as you're fighting off a horde, you'll hear, say, that crazy cannonball head guy yelling at the top of his lungs, except he's really far away, so you're only hearing him yelling faintly. And as his yelling becomes clearer and louder, you start to panic because you can't actively look for him with a gazillion enemies attacking you, but you must take care of him because if he gets any closer, his suicide bomb attack is quite devastating. So you have to rely on your ears to judge how far away he is, to judge in which direction he's coming from, because there's no way you're going to spot him visually with all these monsters spinning you around and his naked body blending in with the sand. And it's just wonderfully fun to allow for your ears to do some of the work, rather than letting your eyes do it all, as in most other games. But I feel it's unfortunate that other games don't use this gameplay mechanic more often. And the game is relentless, so much so that it often forces me to take many breaks, just because I'm spent from the constant attacks. It doesn't spawn in more monsters only once you kill X number of monsters, like most games of its type do. No, it drops on you a bazillion enemies and tells you to deal with them all at once. And the game has 16-player co-op. Yeah, that's right, 16-player co-op. Which makes it doubly sad that I don't have any friends. And it has the biggest boss that you'll ever encounter in any game. And it's got some nice humor to boot. The humor in the game is certainly over the top, just like the action, but it's not cheesy that it reeks of Duke Nukem. It's got a nice kind of Arnold humor to it, without the Austrian accent. Add all this together, and Serious Sam The First Encounter HD is the pinnacle of shoot 'em ups that Doom has birthed. The most frantic, frenzied, fast-paced, and deliciously hardcore game of all time, and it is here for you to enjoy in glorious HD.